Hi friends, Andrea here. Today we're going to be making bath bombs and I'm just showing you guys the ingredients list. So we're going to have baking soda, citric acid, Epsom salt, I used avocado oil, witch hazel, a little bit of Himalayan pink salt, and some Polysorbate 80. I have some pink mica and some fragrance oil, cosmetic grade fragrance oil. Now you can just watch me struggle to open the polysorbate and measure it. This is used to help the bath bomb kind of mix into the bath water so that any of the oils that you use with your bath bomb will, it'll kind of become soluble, is my understanding of it. And that way, when you're done with your bath bomb, you don't end up having like a little ring around your tub. That was a tip that was recommended to me by Lark and Rue. You can find her on Instagram, and she has some wonderful soaps, bath bombs, and sugar scrubs. So I'm just adding my ingredients. I added my avocado oil, and now I'm adding my fragrance oil. And the recipe that I found, I believe it was a modified recipe from Brambleberry. And their recommendation was to mix all of your liquid ingredients. Anyways, here I'm just adding my 2 fragrance oils, and that is a strawberry fragrance oil and a vanilla fragrance oil. And the fragrance oil that I'm using here is by a company called P&J Trading, I believe. And I ordered them on Amazon. I have had my eye on them for a while, but I tend to just purchase my soaping and skincare making ingredients on Brambleberry because I trust their brand and I trust their ingredients. And I would say they're okay. They were fine for my purpose, but the way they came out smelling it wasn't something, and I don't know, to be honest, if this is something that would be resolved with any fragrance oil, but the strawberry did not smell like a real strawberry. It smelled like artificial strawberry, and same thing with the vanilla. It didn't smell like real baking vanilla. It smelled like artificial vanilla, and that's okay. The end product is a bath bomb. And it's going to leave a light fragrance on your skin afterwards. But if you were making this for like a lotion or a perfume where you're rubbing it on your skin and you're expecting it to smell a certain way, I'm not sure that I would go in that direction. Or maybe I would just use a different fragrance for that kind of thing instead of trying to replicate something that make it smell like the real thing. Anyway, I think it's worth trying. That brand is worth trying. Just maybe not try to replicate an existing fragrance in your mind. Just be open to the smells that you get. So at this point, I am just going to measure out all of my dry ingredients into this glass. This is a large glass measuring cup or measuring bowl with a handle. And so I'm going to pour in all my baking soda, and I'll put the link to the recipe on Brambleberry in the description box if you want to go ahead and replicate these. But I did make some small alterations. For one example, I think the recipe that I used was for like a lavender bath bomb. I didn't use lavender fragrance, and it called for some dried lavender buds. I did not use dried lavender. I used Himalayan pink salt, and then I used a pink mica instead of I think they called for like a lavender. And the other thing that I did differently is I used a different kind of oil. Avocado oil that I used is still skin safe, but I just didn't have the oil that they recommended. So just do some research if you're going to make adjustments to recipes, and make sure that you know that the ingredients you're using are going to be safe for people's skin, I guess is what I would say. Like, so I just added my citric acid and my Epsom salts according to the recipe, and now I'm just kind of mixing it in together. And it does recommend in the recipe to just kind of make sure you mix it all by hand to get it all blended really, really well before you start mixing in your wet ingredients. So that's what I was doing. And sometimes your baking soda or your citric acid or even your Epsom salts will have some little chunks in there that you want to kind of break up. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and add in my liquid ingredients. And I think what I did was just mixed a little bit at a time. I didn't want to just pour it all in and then have it kind of sit at the top and be hard to blend in. So I tried to just pour a little bit at a time, mix it with my hand, and then pour a little bit more in and blend it and blend it and blend it. And it does not really feel like really greasy or oily. You might think that it would, but it doesn't end up feeling like that. And I'm just using like a little plastic spoon, disposable spoon, to get all the liquid out. But when you start blending it, you'll have some areas that are not as mixed, and you just have to keep working it and get down to the bottom, make sure that you're mixing everything in the bottom. If I was going to redo this again, I would probably try to find a bigger bowl, because for the recipe that I was using and the amount of the volume of the ingredients that I have in this bowl, it was kind of hard for me to mix it well. It still did mix well because I just took the time to sit there and mix it and mix it and mix it until it was done. And I'm sorry that my elbow keeps getting into the shot, but I spent a lot of time just making sure that it was kind of super mixed, properly mixed, before I started trying to make bath bombs. So once you get it to a certain consistency, and I think I was checking my recipe there, you need it to be the texture or the consistency of sort of like wet sand before you start smashing it together with your bath bomb molds. So that was me just kind of checking the texture, the consistency to make sure that I can kind of smash it together in my fist and it stays together like wet sand would. So I just kind of kept on mixing it until I got it to that stage. So I would say add your colorant to the bath bomb during the dry ingredients process if you're using mica, or during your liquid ingredients mixing if you are using a liquid colorant. And I ended up, at the end here, you'll probably see, I ended up not incorporating my mica. That was by accident. So when you're first making bath bombs, and this is only my second time ever doing this, so I'm not an expert, but when you're first making bath bombs, you'll have some issues where you need to just kind of figure out consistency and figure out your technique. And the technique that I had found worked pretty well was kind of gently packing each side of the bomb, not like super heavy, like really pressing it, but just making sure it's kind of patted flat, and then adding some more of the mixture to the middle and sandwiching it between those two molds, and then kind of like just shoving it together, like forcing it together, and then you kind of like twist as you go to get that seam to kind of be tamped down a little bit. And it takes a little bit of trial and error. And the other thing is sometimes your mixture isn't wet enough, or your mixture is too dry, and so that's why the recipe that I used recommended that you have some witch hazel in a spray bottle, so you could kind of add a little bit of witch hazel to your mixture. And the witch hazel adds a little bit of wetness without activating the ingredients so that they start fizzing. But as you can see, it took a while. I did have one where like I put it down on my tray and then it exploded on me. Like it just disintegrated, and I was like, no. And you'll have that happen. But I will say that these turned out better than the first batch I made, which the first batch I made when they were drying overnight, they started to get kind of slumped over, and I think that the ingredients in them got a little too moistened, and they started to have like some areas where they looked like they had warts on them. So they're fine because I'm going to use them. So when I got down to the very end, I just tried to not waste anything, and I made a couple of little halvesies and pressed them in and used a spoon to tap off the top, so I can just use those in my bath, and those will be for me. But I think it ended up making about 20 medium-sized bath bombs. If you were using a larger bath bomb mold, you'd get a few less, or if you were using a smaller mold, you'd get a few more. And this is how they turned out. And you'll notice that I added the Himalayan pink salt at the very end onto the top, and what I did was just kind of let those dry and then package them up after they'd had a chance to dry. So anyway, I hope that you found this video informative and you will give it a try. It was fun. If you like my videos, definitely like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.